Well, we at some point we have to turn the page, right? We've been in off-season mode for a long time, for a stretched out time because it took a while for Nick Bosa to finalize his new contract with the 49ers. But tomorrow, Thursday, we're going to see Bosa back at the facility. Everything should be at normal again. And with that, we can turn all of our attention to previewing 49ers and Steelers. And I know I've already started to do that with some of my talk, with some of my writing, with some of my tweets, but I want to formally begin that right now. And we can look at this through the lens of Brock Purdy, the 49ers' second-year quarterback against the Pittsburgh defense. This is going to be one of the marquee matchups in the NFL of week one, because I'll tell you what, this might be an elite Pittsburgh defensive line. We should not discount how good the Steelers defensive line is. Since Nick Bosa is going to be back for the 49ers, it's hard for me to say that Pittsburgh is better up front than San Francisco. That being said, Pittsburgh can hold their own with anybody. TJ Watt dealt with a lot of injuries last season, but he's back. He's healthy again this year. He was the defensive player of the year in 2021. And it's not just TJ Watt. If you take a look right now at Pittsburgh's depth chart, you will see across the front quality players. After TJ Watt, it's Cam Hayward, who's one of the best defensive tackles in football. Larry Ogunjobi on the other end of the 3-4, also really solid player. Alex Highsmith, one of the outside linebackers in the 3-4, he had 14 sacks last season. So between Highsmith, TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Ogunjobi, and then the interior guys, they have a nice looking new rookie named Keanu Benton out of Wisconsin, who looks like a really good run stuffer. I mean, there's depth on this Pittsburgh front. Marcus Golden, the former Arizona Cardinal, in on there too. I mean, these guys can come at you in waves, and this is going to be a test for Brock Purdy working against such a stout defensive line of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I do think that the biggest test for the 49ers is going to come in the form of Watt against Colton McKivitz. TJ Watt is not like Nick Bosa in that he doesn't rush ambidextrously. He only comes after the quarterback on one side, and that is against right tackle. And that's Colton McKivitz, the 49ers' first-year starter on that side. McKivitz is an unknown commodity right now. That's all we can say. We can't say that he's bad. We can't say that he's good. We just don't know. He's never been put into a position where he has to start as a first stringer. He started before in spot duty, not as a first stringer. TJ Watt's had all off season to prepare for Colton McKivitz. This is going to be a big task. I know the 49ers are probably going to send help TJ Watt's direction to help out Colton McKivitz. We know that TJ Watt can still break games, right? He can still do stuff that completely disrupts what an offense is trying to accomplish. So Colton McKivitz has to hold his own against TJ Watt, or the 49ers have to send enough schematic help his way to throw off the balance of this Pittsburgh defense. And it's going to be tough to do because of this, because this is indeed a really good Pittsburgh Steelers defensive line. So last I checked, the 49ers were 2-point favorites in this game, and the over-under total was 41.5. That's really low scoring. That's essentially predicting a 49ers win of what? About 22-20, right? It's essentially predicting that the 49ers will win, but put up only 3 touchdowns and nothing else, which would be well below their season average, well below the average that Brock Purdy managed as the quarterback last year, 30 points per game, or above that last season. So Vegas expects this to be a lower scoring game, and I think a big part of that reason is this Pittsburgh defensive line. Pop open the depth chart again, take a look at what the Steelers are dealing with. The line is obviously good. It's good with the edge rushers. It's good with the interior guys. This is a Mike Tomlin coach team. You can expect them to be formidable in the trenches. They improved their linebacker play, or they try to improve it with a couple of additions, Cole Holcomb and Landon Roberts. So look out for those two guys, both tackle machines at their previous stops. I don't think there is a linebacker in the game that can cover what the 49ers are cooking up there with Christian McCaffrey coming out of the backfield. So that's why I'm not going to get too far into coverage stats. I think the 49ers have a big advantage as far as their 5 eligibles against whoever Pittsburgh tries to cover them with. I also would say that the 49ers, as part of their 5 eligibles, have an advantage over the cornerbacks for the Steelers. Levi Wallace on one side, Joey Porter Jr. on the other, and then 33-year-old Patrick Peterson, former All-Pro, perennial star Patrick Peterson. He's at the twilight of his career now. He's the slot cornerback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the 49ers have a definite advantage when you talk about Deebo Samuel, you talk about Brandon Ayuk, Jawan Jennings, obviously throwing George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey into the mix just for starters. Kyle Juszczyk can also be part of the pass route apparatus for the 49ers. They do have a big advantage against the Steelers if they can, hold off that pass rush. If Brock Purdy can execute the way that we saw down the stretch of last season, they should have guys open downfield. The Steelers have one superstar in the back end, and that is Minkah Fitzpatrick, the safety, who they play in kind of a rover position. If you watch Pittsburgh play defense, Minkah is going to be able to erase, and they count on him to erase a lot of mistakes on the back end. So a key for the 49ers, prevent Minkah Fitzpatrick from erasing those mistakes. Keep an eye on him. That's going to be on Brock Purdy, knowing where Minkah is, because this is a guy who can rack up interceptions. He can rush the passer. You got to neutralize him. Maybe put Kyle Juszczyk on him. The get off of me move back when the 49ers last played the Steelers in 2019. So that was Minkah back then. That was shortly after he came over from the Dolphins in a trade. I think that was the very first week, right? Back in 2019 that Minkah was on a new team. Very important, though, the 49ers account for him on the back end, because he's the one player that I think is a real threat to make life difficult for the 49ers on the back end. Other guys can all make plays, especially if the front seven fuels it, because rush is going to tie into coverage. But obviously the 49ers have a game plan. They want the defense to play on its heels, not on its toes. That's where rush, that's where running the football, that's where throwing the football, making sure everything works in unison comes into play. The 49ers want to play this game on their own terms. Shall we enter the 49ers Q&A? Shall we is obviously a reference to Nick Bosa's post from today. He just posted on Instagram. It was a post of Bosa looking buff, arms bulging. I mean, Nick Bosa, he's got the look of a football guy, right? And then he just posted the caption along with the Instagram picture, "Shall we?" It was a very Nick Bosa-like caption. Anyway, shall we head to 49ers Q&A? I think so. Here we are. I'm going to open it up for some questions. Let's talk about the 49ers offense against this Pittsburgh defense coming up on Sunday. Charlene says it's going to be a close game. Both defenses are good. Yeah, it should be close. Vegas predicts it will be low scoring. It's going to be warm out in Pittsburgh. I think that tends to hurt the defenses a little bit, because exhaustion usually hits those defenses a little bit more quickly. Defenders just, they don't know where the offense is going to go. Defenders are reacting. The offensive game plan is scripted, so that makes defensive play a little bit more tiring. I think early season heat, early season humidity in Pittsburgh might favor the offenses down the stretch of this football game, but you never know. And these are indeed two good defenses in this football game. Somebody else saying that Purdy is going to ball out and score, and this will be a high-scoring game. I mean, that would be a good sign for the 49ers offense to enter this season, that's for sure. It's funny. Christian McCaffrey was talking about the 49ers locker room last year, and he said this is like the being at the Pro Bowl. You're walking around so many accomplished players. Nick Bosa just re-signed today, but you've got Trent Williams in there, Fred Warner, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Brock Purdy was really good last year. I mean, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey himself. Yeah, I mean, it is a loaded 49ers roster. That's why expectations for this team are so high here in 2023. 49ers have better skill positions, 28-17, the prediction here. Yeah, I mean, I would agree that the 49ers have more talent. And when I talk about the other side of the ball, I think that the 49ers defensive line is significantly better than Pittsburgh's offensive line, because I do not like Pittsburgh's situation at offensive tackle, which is why it's so important that the 49ers will have Nick Bosa back for this game. But right now, we're talking about the other side of the football. Will the 49ers offensive line be able to handle that elite Pittsburgh defensive line? And I mean, again, here are the matchups. Larry Ogunjobi is probably going to be doing a lot of work Again, they run a 3-4 front, first of all. So it's a different front than what the 49ers run. The linemen are going to be bunched in a little bit more. It's going to be the outside linebackers that are going to be working primarily one-on-one in those situations against the tackles. But Ogunjobi, he can get after the passer. He's not a bad player. He's not a superstar. The nose tackles, Montrevious Adams and the rookie Keanu Benton, they're going to be more the run stuffing type of the 49ers. Absolutely have to account for them because you have to earn the right to rush the passer if you're Pittsburgh. So if the 49ers are able to run the football in the Steelers, then guys like Cameron Hayward, guys like TJ Watt, guys like Alex Highsmith are not going to be able to attack the way that Pittsburgh wants them to. Anyway, Highsmith is probably going to work a lot against Trent Williams. And we know that Trent Williams is the best in the game. TJ Watt's going to work a lot against Colton McKivitz. And we know that TJ is one of the best in the game. I think 49ers fans would say that Nick Bosa's better. He's paid better now than TJ Watt. But either way, TJ Watt's elite. I think he's in the same tier as Nick Bosa. Colton McKivitz obviously is not elite, but we just don't know exactly where McKivitz is going to score on the performance spectrum. So Watt rushes against McKivitz. The 49ers will probably send chip help over there. But any help that you send that way, it's going to free somebody else up, right? Or it's going to allow the coverage. It's going to allow Micah Fitzpatrick to be more aggressive in his roving duties coming down from that safety position. So this all comes back down to Brock Purdy, second-year quarterback. Remember, this is his first game action since getting hurt against Philadelphia. He stayed in the game later on, but he wasn't able to throw the football. So this is Brock Purdy's first game action since then. And he is going to have to, right out of bed, work against a really, really good defensive line. A couple new linebackers. Maybe it takes a little while for those linebackers to get acclimated for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But, I mean, this is a big boy test for the 49ers right out of the gate. This is right. Purdy is the nucleus of the 49ers offense. What is the depth on Pittsburgh's defense? Will they get worn out? I don't think so. I think this is one of the deeper defensive lines in the game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, this is my cursor's hovering over the depth on that D line. I really like their rookie Keanu Benton out of Wisconsin. I really like Marcus Golden as a backup edge rusher for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Nick Herbig too can get after quarterbacks. I mean, this defensive line comes at you in waves in a way that's similar to what the 49ers defensive line is supposed to do on the other side. So when you talk about depth on defense, the position where depth really matters is the defensive line. That's the one position you're going to rotate. I do not think that the Steelers are deficient there. So I think that this might be a hell of a fight against the 49ers on Sunday. Mike Fuss, let's talk a little bit about today. Do you see an imminent trade with the cap space created? I mean, first of all, what a day for the 49ers, right? Monumental what the front office committed to today. A $50 million signing bonus for Nick Bosa. Can't wait to see the financials and the complete picture of that. And that should be happening soon, probably at some point tomorrow. Let's hope, knock on wood. But not just that, but they also restructured Trent Williams and George Kittle to presumably open up some space, but they might not have backloaded Nick Bosa's deal as much as we initially predicted they would, right? So either the extra cap space created will take some of the Nick Bosa cap burden and shoulder it onto 2023 this year, which wasn't previously expected, or the 49ers have a lot of room now to where if one of these players does become available in trade, Chandler Jones is one of them, Brian Burns is another player that people are talking about, the 49ers will be able to take a swing, right? You do this to have spending money entering the season because you can't do this after the season starts. Once these games start, you can't run these kinds of restructures. So the 49ers did it right before the 53-man roster cut down today, or no, the 53-man, not the cut down. It's the 53-man salary cap rule. The top 51 rule ceased to be in effect. That means in the offseason, only the 51 most expensive hits count against the salary cap. Today, the entire salary cap counted. I could even put this up on the screen for you guys. So the 49ers, there it is. I have to update this with the new Bosa number once we have that. And I have to update it with the new Trent Williams and George Kittle numbers, which will be lower than they are here once we have that. But entering the day, the 49ers only had about $1 million of cap space. According to Field Yates, who reported the Williams and the George Kittle restructures, the 49ers added over $23 million of cap space. So that would leave the 49ers at $24 million with which to fit in Nick Bosa's new contract. Bosa's existing cap hit was $17.86 million. How much bigger does it get? That's the question for the 49ers moving forward. So anyway, depending on the size of Bosa's contract, we will know if the 49ers have enough spending money to make a big splash trade. So we know that any competent team that has designs on contending does not want to enter the season with only $1 million of salary cap space. Guys are going to get hurt. You're going to have to spend on new signees. You're potentially going to run into a Christian McCaffrey-like situation where you want to trade for somebody. If you can't fit his contract onto your books, well, you're SOL. So the 49ers didn't want to be in that position. I mean, Jed York has talked about the 49ers' ability this year to go out and make another splash trade due to the fact they have a lot of draft capital in reserve in 2024 and beyond. Well, the other thing that you have to have in reserve to make a trade is cap space. So I think the 49ers are just giving themselves optionality. Obviously, Chandler Jones is making noise right now in Las Vegas, not showing up to practice. And if that becomes available to the 49ers and the Raiders are open to trading him and the 49ers have the money and they have the draft picks and they think that's what's going to secure them the best possible shot at a Super Bowl, well, they'll have the option power to do it. So I think that's what the 49ers are acting on right now with these restructures. I can't wait to write the breakdown of this contract. I'm just waiting for all the details so I could be able to pump it out. I'm going to take Bart down to the facility tomorrow so I could be writing the whole time. Can't waste my time driving at this time of the year. I've got to be on the train so I could be cranking out all this work. Yeah, there's, Mike brought this up. We were talking today. He said, whoa, the 49ers just opened up $23 million of space with the restructures to Warner, or to Trent Williams and to George Kittle. Is it possible that the 49ers are actually going to front load Bosa's contract or not? There's so much money that has to hit the cap in Bosa's contract. It's a mega deal, right? We know the general parameters, $34 million per year, $122.5 million in total guarantees, $50 million signing bonus. I mean, the money's got to hit the cap at some point. So front load, back load, whichever way you do it, it's going to have to hit the money. It's going to have to hit the cap, and maybe spreading it out as efficiently as possible. So if you opened up some room in 2023, putting a good chunk of it, 20 to 30 million in 2023, maybe that's the 49ers' best long-term play. I do think that this deal is going to be cap sustainable for them, because to be cap sustainable in the NFL, even as a big spender, you can do that if your front office, Jed York, is willing to spend money on signing bonuses, because that stretches the cap hits out by league rule. 49ers are willing to do that. You can afford to do it if your front office is doing a good job between the scouting department and the coaching staff. If everybody's doing a good job as far as combining to draft well, combining forces, combining brain power to find good players in the low, especially in the lower rounds of the draft, because then you're finding inexpensive, efficiently priced talent at the margins. If you're doing those two things, well, you can ride a window for a while in the NFL. And the 49ers are doing that right now. You can keep this thing cap sustainable. And I just can't wait to see Nick Bosa's contract, because I do think that the evidence leads us to a place that suggests that the 49ers have made it a cap sustainable deal. The $50 million signing bonus speaks volumes, in my opinion. Again, signing bonuses prorate over the life of the contract up to 5 years. So if you're willing to pay a massive portion of the guaranteed money in a signing bonus, it's not all going to hit the cap at once. Cash is king in the NFL, and the 49ers spent a lot of cash today. They put a lot of money into escrow between the George Kittle restructure, the Trent Williams restructure, and the new contract for Nick Bosa. Oh, I got some new words from Mike. Oh, good. We got new contract information. Yeah. So the 49ers went down to the league minimum for Trent Williams. Trent Williams' new cap hit is $1.165 million. They added a new void year to Trent Williams' contract, 2027. That wasn't there before. I could actually probably share this up on the screen so we can start doing that. Okay, so this is from SpotRack, which is the salary cap website. Okay, so take a look here. Trent Williams' contract, 2023, as you can see, the salary cap hit, which was like $18 million, is now down to the league minimum of $1.165 million. So they converted most of that base salary into signing bonus, and then they added another void year to stretch out that new proration, 3.64 million of it into 2027. So that saved the 49ers a lot of money on that end. And then we have George Kittle's cap hit, down to the league minimum for him of 1.08 million base salary. And they added at least one void year. I think he already had the 2026 void year. So they added a second void year, 2027 for George Kittle. The proration of the new signing bonus is 2.1 million per year. So both Kittle and Williams are now making the league minimum, but they got massive signing bonuses to make up for it today. So they both got richer today. The 49ers had to be willing to spend more money today, and they opened up $23 million of salary cap room. So those are details for Trent Williams and George Kittle. The 49ers are doing very well with the salary cap. Again, I mean, this goes back to my evergreen tweet from the offseason. And I'm going to open this up. This thing has already been viewed by nearly 1 million people, and that's good because that means that people are learning about the ins and outs of the sport, the financial ins and outs of the sport. So this is the 49ers building strategy. And it follows a cycle. Number one, acquire and develop A-list players. So that's either through the draft or you can sign them through free agency. Javon Hargrave is a great example of a player that the 49ers signed through free agency who they believe is an A-lister because of his pass rushing productivity. They've acquired A-list players that were ready to go out of college. Nick Bosa is a great example of that. And they've also developed A-list players who might not have been A-listers when they first signed with the 49ers. Maybe somebody like George Kittle, although he developed fairly rapidly. Fred Warner, he developed rapidly as well. So that moves you to step two. After you've acquired the A-listers, you move on to paying those A-list players when their contract is up. You want to keep those guys around. So you can do that, and you can make the list of A-listers that you pay longer because the salary cap theoretically grows every single season. Step three is really key. Don't pay B-listers when free agency comes. You can obtain comp picks through their departures instead. So I always use Charles Omenihu as an example, good football player. Jimmy Garoppolo as an example, good football player, but wasn't quite an A-lister for the 49ers. So you let those guys walk, and you're able to obtain comp picks instead. The whole time you're doing number four, you're developing your coaching staff, because your coaching staff is what's going to develop your players. So it's going to turn your draft picks in the middle rounds into A-list players. So as you develop your staff, you get more comp picks, because some of the staff is going to earn you comp picks through the minority hiring process in the NFL. But most importantly, I think you're going to develop your staff so you can develop your players, and that's going to allow the A-listers to get paid. And it's going to allow you to differentiate between your A-listers and the B-listers. And it leads you to step number 5, picking the next A-listers to restock your roster. This is how you build a great roster and stay under the salary cap. I think the 49ers have figured it out. I think today was another data point in showing that they figured it out. We saw number 2 today. Nick Bosa getting paid is an example of an A-list player earning some money as the salary cap grows. Salary cap's going to be as big as ever next year. Nick Bosa is going to fit underneath it. So it's just fun to go back to the formula. Whenever a major inflection point like today happens, 49ers re-sign Nick Bosa, look back at that five-piece checklist, and the 49ers execute at number 2 today with Nick Bosa. Yeah, the Rams did not manage the salary cap as well as the 49ers. The Rams just went a little too freewheely with their spending. That was the problem. Well, I don't think it matters what pick Purdy was anymore. We can expect Brock Purdy to take the same steps forward that he would take if he were pick 3 as if he were pick number 262. Draft status doesn't matter once you're in the league. Purdy proved that already last season. The steps forward he needs to take are the operation within the pocket. He can't bail too soon. He's got to be able to hang in there, step up in the pocket. These are challenges because he's not the tallest quarterback. And, bailing too soon to his left, that's what defenses want him to do because that's where he was less efficient last year, rolling to his left, which is the naked side for a quarterback. That's going to be the perpetual challenge for Brock Purdy. That's going to be something the defenses try to corner him into because they have game tape on his weaknesses now. He's got to be able to defeat that. Brandon Ayuk is absolutely a possibility to pay next year. The 49ers want to get one of these guys paid every season. That's the goal. You develop one of these guys and pay him every season. 2020, George Kittle, check mark. 2021, Fred Warner, check mark. They also got Trent Williams paid that year. 2022, Deebo Samuel, check mark. 2023, Nick Bosa, check mark. 2024, Brandon Ayuk. Ayuk 2024. That's what's next for the 49ers. If he puts together an A-list type of season, they will pay him. The 49ers have a demonstrated track record of successfully paying players that they develop. They're absolutely sustainable. Now we have to see the details of Bosa's contract to see how it's sustainable, but so far they've been sustainable. And if you're willing to spend on the signing bonuses, which also accompany restructures, you're already halfway or even more than halfway the way there to being able to surf out the salary cap. It's going to be increasing every year. You're going to be able to stay under the cap even though you're spending big. That's how it works in the NFL. Now, you can't be completely blasé about your spending and go to the very wrong places every single time. But if your hit rate is generally good and you're willing to spend, if ownership is behind this, and if you're obtaining talent at the margins for an efficient cost through the draft, right? Because you only have 8 superstars on the team at most, and that's a lot. But players 10 through 53, those guys are going to have to be delivering on a more cost-efficient contract. If you can do that, then yes, it's sustainable. Whatever the 49ers don't use this season, salary cap-wise, they will roll over into 2024 and beyond. Yes. George Kittle's chances of playing are looking really good. He was back out of practice today. Technically limited, but the fact that he was practicing, I would say give 2 thumbs up toward his probability of playing on Sunday. All right, questions. We're trying to focus on the 49ers offense against the Steelers defense. So I'd like to see questions pertaining to the game in that regard. This is an interesting question. Have the 49ers benefited cap-wise from losing 3 first in the Lance trade while successfully drafting in the mid to late rounds? A little bit, yes, because very high picks cost more than picks lower on in the first round. It's a scale. The number 1 pick is the most expensive, and then it's a little bit cheaper at number 2, and number 3 is slotted for a little bit less than that. So the 49ers lost some first-round picks, which are the most expensive picks of all, but they've made up for it by doing well in the middle to late rounds. Brock Purdy was the cheapest draft pick there was in 2022. Last pick, number 262, his cap hit's only like $780,000 this year. So against the cap, the 49ers have found sustainability by getting super cost-efficient deals from players like Brock Purdy. And yes, they didn't have to spend on first-round picks. They traded away to try to go with Trey Lance. Obviously, Lance didn't work out. There's some dead money there. That's hurt the 49ers. But in the big picture, the 49ers are still winning this game. Well, I mean, Dre Greenlaw may not be an A-list player. And if he's not an A-list player, then the 49ers probably won't be able to afford him beyond what they deem was a really good deal, as an extension, 2-year extension at the start of last season. But there's a reason why the 49ers drafted D. Winters and they drafted Jalen Graham. These are guys that they really do believe can take the torch from Dre Greenlaw to be alongside Fred Warner in the future. Just part of the cost efficiency that the 49ers are trying to practice at the margins in the NFL. If Dre Greenlaw can't fill that position at a cost that the 49ers need him to fill it at, if he deserves more money elsewhere, kind of like Azeez Al-Shaair at that third linebacker, you've got to find guys in the draft that can carry that torch for a cheaper price. That's how you can go out and afford Nick Bosa, Deebo Samuel, all these guys in consecutive years. I'll talk about Pickett and the Steelers offense against the 49ers defense in a separate video. I already talked about them a little bit in the big Bosa video earlier today, but that's something I have to get to in a separate video. Today, we're focusing on the 49ers offense against Pittsburgh's defense. The only thing that's going to make the 49ers call Robbie Gould is if Jake Moody really struggles this year and they're desperate to just replace him at kicker. It's way too early to start talking about that. Moody is looking healthy again, and he should be kicking on Sunday. So let's see how his career starts for the 49ers. Shane says that Christian McCaffrey is going to show up big on Sunday. I think it's very probable. I mean, we'll see how good those linebackers, the new linebackers for the Pittsburgh Steelers, are in coverage, right? Take a look at the depth chart again. They've got two new guys, Cole Holcomb and Landon Roberts. I don't think there is a linebacker in the game that could cover Christian McCaffrey straight up. Now, Minkah Fitzpatrick, I don't think that he can cover Christian McCaffrey straight up because Christian McCaffrey burns everybody. But how much of Minkah Fitzpatrick's attention, he's kind of the rover on the back end, is going to go toward Christian McCaffrey? And if that happens, okay, well, Brandon Ayuk is not going to see help coverage from Minkah Fitzpatrick. Brandon Ayuk's going to get to go against the top cornerbacks for this team. He's going to go against Joey Porter. He's going to go against Levi Wallace. I think Patrick Peterson will probably be in the slot. I mean, the 49ers have options there with Jawan Jennings, who's a good separator. They obviously have Deebo Samuel, the battering ram. They obviously have George Kittle, especially if Christian McCaffrey takes attention from Minkah Fitzpatrick that otherwise would go to George Kittle. Well, the 49ers are in business. That's the glory of this offense. That's why Brock Purdy just has to play point guard, which is not an easy job, but that is his job description. Play point guard to strain the Pittsburgh defense. McCaffrey will be big, yes. TJ Watt's going to line up against Colton McKivitz. I mentioned that at the top of the show. He's not going to be lining up against Trent Williams. So to me, that's the matchup of the game for the 49ers offense against Pittsburgh's defense is Colton McKivitz, an unproven commodity, an unknown commodity at right tackle against a very known commodity in TJ Watt. And just some beautiful symmetry here, right? I mean, you got TJ Watt who stormed into the owner's office 2 days before the Steelers opened their season in 2021 while he was holding in, and he said, I'm ready to play. Let me sign this contract. I'm sick of the agents and all the haggling. Let's get this done. Okay, sorry, I got to go work out. That's what TJ Watt said in 2021. He signed what was at the time the largest deal for an edge rusher in NFL history. $28 million per year, $80 million fully guaranteed. Well, fast forward 2 years, Nick Bosa just signed for $34 million per year. And we don't know how much fully guaranteed until we have the full numbers, but a $50 million signing bonus, which is about $14.4 million more than TJ Watt's. And Bosa did it a few days before the season started too. You're going to have Bosa on one side, TJ Watt on the other, the two highest paid edge rushers in football. I think the symmetry is awesome. Do I think the 49ers use a lot of 21 personnel to take advantage of the linebackers? I think the 49ers are always trying to take advantage of the linebackers, and they don't have to use 21 to do it because they have positionless skill position versatility. So guys can line up all over, and Pittsburgh won't really know what the alignment is based on the personnel package. And that is one of the fundamental benefits of Kyle Shanahan's offense. I mean, the 49ers had a quarterback that could put it all together before in Jimmy Garoppolo. He just couldn't stay healthy enough for their liking. And Brock Purdy now needs to answer that same question. Can he stay healthy enough to be a consistent point guard for this 49ers offense for these 5 very capable eligibles? Shane is right. Colton McKivitz is the big unknown. Yep, the 49ers can also use bootlegs and play action to manipulate the linebackers. I mean, on paper, this 49ers offense has what it takes to give the Steelers defense fits. They're better at the skill positions than the Steelers are at linebacker and a defensive back. Minkah Fitzpatrick is the one star that you have to neutralize in the back end. It's this, though, and this can change the tenor of a lot of battles. Pittsburgh has got an elite defensive line, in my opinion, and they're deep, too. And if they win that battle mano-a-mano with the 49ers up front decisively, all the other 49ers advantages can go out the window. So McKivitz has got to hold his own against Watt. Highsmith is going to be working against Trent Williams. Trent's got to hold his own. But that interior, Cam Hayward against the 49ers interior O-line, I mean, that's a test right out of bed for the 49ers offensive line. That's a big, big test for these guys. Really big. You talk about Aaron Banks at left guard, Jake Brendel at center. Then you talk about the right guard spot with Spencer Burford in his second year starting. Cam Hayward, he's one of the top 5 disruptors in football as far as interior linemen go. Savvy vet, powerful. I mean, he's just a good veteran. Really good player that the 49ers are going to be tested by right out of bed. I'm not going to answer questions about the 49ers defense, guys. We're talking about 49ers offense against Pittsburgh defense. You got to subscribe and tune into the other shows to talk about the other side of the ball. I think Eric Armstead has been fantastic when healthy over the past few years. And shedding his contract isn't easy. They've already doubled down on Armstead through restructures. You wouldn't really save anything by getting rid of Armstead. So Armstead is a player who radically transforms the effectiveness of the 49ers run game. I could even find a graphic here for you to help illustrate what Eric Armstead has done for the 49ers run defense. If you give me 1 second. All right. So, yes, Eric Armstead is an A-lister. He's just got to be healthy. Take a look at this. This is the 49ers run defense EPA rank and their sacks per game with Armstead at defensive tackle and versus Armstead at defensive end. 2021, weeks 1 to 7, Armstead was at end. They ranked number 14 in run defense, and they had 2.2 sacks per game. Armstead moved inside full-time around week 8. The 49ers vaulted from number 14 to number 1 in run defense. They went up from 2.2 to 3.4 sacks per game. In 2022, Armstead was hurt for much of the year. He did play defensive tackle, though. With Armstead, number 8 run defense, 4 sacks per game. Without Armstead, number 24 run defense, only 2.7 sacks per game. So there you have it. Eric Armstead, a defensive tackle, is absolutely an A-list player. He just needs to stay healthy. That's the key for Eric Armstead. So he has played well. He just has to stay healthy. And when he does, it's a big domino for the 49ers defense. What do I think the 49ers will struggle most offensively? I think they'll struggle most against that really good Pittsburgh front. It's a really good front. Just have that stick in your head. It's a really good Pittsburgh defensive front. Robert thinks that Deebo Samuel is going to break out against this Pittsburgh defense. Very possible. I mean, I would think that skinny Deebo is going to have a bigger impact than out of shape Deebo. I mean, we saw skinny Deebo 19 and 21 and now in 2023, and those are his best years. 2019 and 21 were at least. The key is getting the football quickly to playmakers and letting them do their thing. That's a good way to beat a strong Pittsburgh front. That's why the 49ers like when their quarterbacks get the ball out quick. It sets up yards after the catch, and that's something the 49ers are really, really good at. The Steelers' cornerbacks are not great. It's one of the weaknesses of this defense. They use Minka Fitzpatrick to try to cover up a lot of deficiencies on the back end and that D line, of course. But you're looking at an old Patrick Peterson, probably in the slot, 33, Joey Porter Jr., and Levi Wallace on the outside. And I do think that Pittsburgh is going to blitz. Yes, Pittsburgh for a long time has been a creative blitzing team. I mean, it's the team of Troy Polamalu, right, who was a great blitzer. 49ers now have Talanoa Hufanga, who's learned from Troy. So the 49ers are going to have to be ready for Pittsburgh to throw some exotic stuff out them. I don't think Bell's going to be receiver 4 because I think that Ray McLeod's going to be back. That's really big for the 49ers. Both McLeod and Kittle on track to be back. Willis has a chance to eventually be tight end 2, but not right away. Not out of the gate. That's going to be to Werner or Ross Dwelly. The linebackers for Pittsburgh, again, I talked about these guys a little bit before. Landon Roberts, Cole Holcomb, both newcomers. Roberts from Miami, Holcomb from Washington. Both guys who racked up a lot of tackles last year. I do not think that anybody in this league can cover Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield, though. Brock Purdy is completely off of his pitch count. Full go, 100%, no pitch count. That was news on Monday. Yeah, I think, like I said, these linebackers racked up tackles. They're decent players, but not that bad is different than he can cover Christian McCaffrey. And that's why the 49ers offense is so damn hard to contain. As always, turnovers in the line of scrimmage are key. You are right. What part of the O-line should worry the 49ers? Well, this is the matchup of the game. TJ Watt against Colton McKivitz. It's a big one. All right, everybody. So I have something to show you here. Today at the team facility, we had a really good time covering what I thought was a monumental development. Nick Bosa's signing of a contract. Here he is. Check this out up on The Athletic. Nick Bosa's deal brings a boost of confidence and levity to the 49ers locker room. $170 million, $34 million a season. 49ers busted out the checkbooks today. Jed York is serious about not only winning a Super Bowl this year, but he wants the 49ers to be sustainable for a while to come. And to do that, you spend money on signing bonuses. $50 million signing bonus for Nick Bosa. It's going to spread out against the cap. We're going to have details soon. Subscribe to the channel. I'm going to break that down like nobody else will. And we're going to have the numbers of what the 49ers can do, what they have capacity for as far as further moves heading into this 2023 season, because this team is really financially committed to winning. That's very, very clear now. So there's a 7th record-breaking deal in 7 years. So anyway, I have TJ Watt against Colton McKivitz down at the bottom of the screen. This, though, pertains a little bit more to Jed York and the 49ers are willing to spend. Go and check out that article. It's all ready for you. I might put this in the description, but if it's not there, you could check it out up on my Twitter. What a day it's been. 49ers offense against that Pittsburgh defense. Should be a hell of a battle. Really good Pittsburgh defensive front. Everybody, thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Like the video. We'll talk to you all very soon.